Blog Talk Radio. When I look at you, I know I want to be with you forever, baby. I love you, but I don't want to let you go either.
Yeah. My baby monster, my baby mama wants me to be a sponsor. I think she may want me to want her, but I just want to raise my baby without this chick acting crazy, without her using the baby as yet another instrument to enslave me. I also wonder if she really crazy. I think the whole situation's been a long 8 years since I had my first two. One pretty in pink and the other baby blue. I really miss you, but your mommy, well, forget it. I tried to pick you up the other day, she wasn't with it. Matter of fact, she kinda shitted on our time together, but forget it. Cause God forbid I tell the truth, cause everybody's a critic. Don't say that and make her look bad. But if she didn't do it, then I wouldn't have to ask. But daddy take the weight, cause daddy make the cake. Your mom be getting it poppin' like the Air Force in Kuwait. When I come to get my little queen, your mommy's always hygiene. Jealous of the fact me and my new shorty clean. But we happy when we leave, despite what she believes. She don't understand the importance of a man in your life. It'll help you be a better wife or husband in the end. But until then, my baby monster, my baby mama wants me to be a sponsor. I think she may want me to want her, but I just want to raise my baby without this chick acting crazy, without her using the baby as yet another instrument to enslave me. I also wonder if she really crazy. I think the whole situation is shady. Can let's flip the dogs of war. If you didn't want me, take 'em, what you pack his back for? What you call a cap for? Why you slamming the door? What you had a baby with me for? If you didn't want to share, so you remember I was there both times. I saw they eyes open for the first time both times. You carried 9 months, I carried my whole life. Or when we started fucking back when you was my wife. But then you chose another life, and baby I did too. How come everything you say always pertains to you? Why's it always about how you feel about him taking it? I'm his father, who the hell you was expecting it? You disrespecting it, you constantly injecting it. Your negativity, that's based on your rejection it makes me unaffectionate, cause it's a deficit, and I am not protecting it, that much is evident. My baby monster, my baby mama wants me to be a sponsor. I think she may want me to want her, but I just want to raise my baby without this chick acting crazy, without her using the baby as yet another instrument to enslave me. I also wonder if she really crazy. I think the whole situation is shady. Moves from now, when these babies get old, they're gonna realize that a lot of time you stole, and they gon' wanna know why you had to make it so difficult for their daddy find time to buy a coat for 'em. You wanna die for 'em, but I'd rather live for 'em. I wanna teach them how to live and maybe transform the perception of our people worldwide. Have pride and ride, and if they have to rise above all the bullshit that comes from me and you. I only wanna be with them, but I got to see you too, so let's make a deal. You find a way to work through your issues on the real, and I will pledge to know the legend how to make you feel, so I can get to parenting and flipping this McLaren and teach you not on heroin, cause that would be ill, but not much more than I seen before. My baby monster, my baby mama wants me to be a sponsor. I think she may want me to want her, but I just want to raise my baby without this chick acting crazy, without her using the baby as yet another instrument to enslave me. I also wonder if she really crazy. I think the whole situation is shady. Yeah. So, moral of the story is, for what it's worth, we should make it work. If you can't, then don't. So, if she take your baby, at least try to find out where the baby is. Chicks, stop using your baby as collateral. It's not fair. And baby, please forgive mommy and daddy for all the bullshit. Cause in the end, you the most important thing. You are now tuned in live on Happy Moon Day. This is Super Heru Radio. I'm your host, Aseer with my brother, Sagar Sad Ali. Unfortunately, he's doing what he got to do in terms of the beast. You know, doing that just over broke, a.k.a. the job thing. But we send him love and light, and I know he's tuning in. And he definitely sending his love to everybody else. Hope everybody's good on this Happy Moon Day, a.k.a. Monday. Always mad shit going on, you know. Thankful to everybody who tuned in to our new show, Super Heru Radio 3.0, on Fridays from 9 to 11. Thanks for everybody that called in. It was a very explosive show, very powerful show last week. So, you know, so much stuff is going on. We always started off with the current events and everything, but before we even get into that, I just wanted to say peace to all of the people who've fallen recently. Brother Gary Coleman, we all grew up with him, you know what I'm saying, Arnold. He unfortunately was one of the first original young men who went through the whole Hollywood ritual or whatever that was going on there in that whole Different Strokes cast. If you notice, most of the children were the ones who got messed up off of that, whereas the adults, they still around doing whatever they're doing. But it's people like Gary Coleman that was becoming the butt of everybody's joke. Like when they had him running for governor and all of that other stuff, you know, they used him how they needed to use him, and his family was the ones who kind of like put him out there to allow it because they, you know, swindled millions upon millions of dollars off of him. So, you know, he passed very disgruntled, very upset, very used, you know. And when souls sometimes disincorporate like that, it's very hard for them to rest. So, being that he was one of the people that, again, that we all grew up on, we should definitely put out some, you know, positive energy, arms, light a candle, something for the brother. Because, again, if it wasn't for him, a lot of us, it would be no black people on TV because he came around at a time, you know, again, when, you know, a lot of the transition stuff was happening in entertainment, you know. And actually that show was the precursor to what basically is going on now in terms of all of these Caucasian people trying to get all of these black babies. So it's real good that we, you know, pay respect to the brother and definitely, you know, wish him well on his journey. At least you don't have to be here no more. So much is going on, man. I'm down here in Florida. We just went through so-called Memorial Day. That's another thing we could say what's up to all of the peeps, to all of the people who have come and come down to Florida or whatever for the whole Miami thing. It's great. You know, some things I noticed when I was down here, like I noticed packs upon packs of original black women just rolling together, you know what I mean? Just like I've seen packs upon packs of brothers, you know, just rolling together. Deep, I mean like 8 deep, 12 deep, 10 deep in packs, you know what I mean? But it seemed like everybody's scared to talk to everybody else, you know? And because sex is always the underlying modus operandi of this whole culture now, it seemed like for instance, like everybody that was out there in bikinis, you know, and the G-strings and all that's great or whatever. But if you want to do that, then, you know, wear it out on the beach. Like everybody that I've seen in the most craziest types of scantily clad bathing suits or all of them was walking up and down the strip. Whereas when you go to the beach, there was hardly nobody on that floor. You know what I mean? And this is what I'm talking about in terms of original people. Another thing, too, like, I never seen so many beautiful women and beautiful people scared to go into the water, man. Like, it's 2010. You really got to do the knowledge. Like, I was reading the CDC. They was talking about how, the Department of Education, they was talking about how 75% of all black people in America don't know how to swim. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a coincidence. That's not like something that we all, because we weren't always like that, you know. We really got to do the knowledge to when these trends start, how they started, when we allowed ourselves to get wrapped up in that, and why is it that we have such issues with the water, man? What's up? I mean, I know what the real deal is. I mean, you know, you get your legs front wet, you can't really, hold that down, because after a while that shit will start to stink. You know what I mean? But again, if you put something in your head that you can't really hold down without a certain amount of funk coming off of it, man, maybe that's some shit that you need to take off. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But every time I go to the beach with the fam or whatever, it's like my queen is like one of the only people that can, black women that's in the water. You know? And it's got to be because of the hair thing. You know what I mean? And then the next thing, like, what's up with the original people being scared to tan, yo? As much as these white folk be getting melanoma and skin cancer and be tanning every other day or whatever, like when I went to Japan, these people was actually going into the tanning bars to get black like 5 times in a day, permanent hair like 3-4 times in a day just to get it thick and nappy and kinky and all that shit. So it was just real funny that, with all of this stuff going down, like, we are still, like, almost social infants. You know what I mean? It's not good. You know, it's definitely something wrong with our people if we can't, enjoy the beach, especially based on all of the eco-terrorism that's going on right now. You know, you better try to get to the beach as quick as you can, especially if you live, someplace where that's in the path of this godforsaken spill that these people are allowing to get worse. We really need to start doing a nod to this type of stuff, people, because it's seriously inhibiting ourselves, and it makes us look like, again, social infants to other people and other races that's out here, that's looking at us and noticing, hey, these people don't get in the water like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not cool, especially when we're the ones who come from the seafarers and the sea kings, and we're the ones building the big frigate boats and the schooners and everything else. We're the lords of the seas. We're the ancient sea kings. We're the people who navigated, circumnavigated the globe over 70 times over. So now in 2010, that we done lost knowledge of ourselves, we can't just be out here. Yeah. Somebody said, okay. It's really sad, you know what I mean? And at this day and age, you know what I mean, I literally see women cringe at the water, man. Like, what does that say for our youth? What's going to happen when our children, want to get in the water and all that? Like, there is a deep connection that we as original people have with the earth and things that are natural. And it seems like the more we talk about that, when I say we, I'm talking about the conscious community, the more I'm seeing the opposite takes place in the so-called 85 non-conscious community, It's sad, Again, my thing is, cut it out, man. It's better for you to have your own hair and think your own thoughts than be thinking something else. You know what I mean? Okay, that's what the Queen's saying. The Queen's saying that a lot of black men want black women with straight hair. Straight white girls' hair. Women would cut their hair a lot more if they got support from black men. But through the whole video scene, it's like, I've seen more black men look at my hair like, oh, what's that? Than, oh, wow, I recognize that. That's her own hair. And it's very sad because these women are almost unhappy. But, I got to get a man. I got to look cute for a dude. I got to, I can't have no naps. Why? You don't think I'm ghetto. Like, when did having your original hair mean that you were cheap or ghetto? What's ghetto to me is women that don't put any soap on their crown, that smell like wet dogs, and I feel like, oh, no. My shit is tight, though. Like, I hear you. It looks cute, but it's not your hair. So what are you really looking cute for? The Queen is right. Sisters, any brother that feels that you need to have straight hair when your hair is mad thick, or if his hair be thicker and nappier than yours, you don't need to be messing with him, man. Because I tell you this, the white boys that a lot of these sisters is trying to get with, they don't want no sisters with perms. They want the sisters with the locks, with the afros, with the bald heads, with everything else. It's like if you want to have your own hair as an original woman, almost, it's like you got to be in some type of counterculture shit. Either you into consciousness, or you are on some lesbian shit, or you are on some, you're the only black woman, around your cipher, and you don't want with your own hair, whatever. But regardless to whatever the deal is, there's something definitely wrong in the psyche of original women if you still think that you need to put lye or dye or somebody else's hair or some animal's hair in your head to get or to be beautiful. That has nothing to do with beauty. What you are talking about is cosmetic. You're talking about the cosmetic industry, because those are really the only people that benefit from that. Because really, if it was all of that, then the pack, if the lace fronts and all that shit was still working, then that means black women would have more long-term relationships than the ones that I'm seeing now. If this black man really only wants you with straight hair or whatever, and then you get with him and then he leaves you anyway, then what is that really telling you? It's not about your hair. It's not about any of that shit. It's about you being yourself, loving yourself more than you loving the appearance or the perception of yourself. But see, we, especially original people here that's born here, you know what I mean, we have deep issues with having anything that is culturally significant to who and what we really are. And unfortunately, there are a lot of sisters. Again, I'm not trying to diss nobody. I'm just keeping it real, man. Again, if you are in a situation and you feel pressured to do something to your hair because you want to attract a man, keep a job, blah, 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 that means that every time you conform to that pressure, you're going to keep conforming to it. You're going to keep having to reduce yourself because it's not going to end with your hair. If they can get you to believe that your crown is ugly, then that means that you will never wear it. You will never put it on. You will never sit in your throne. You will never be who you really are, because you're always going to be looking for validation as to who you are from somebody else. Somebody who usually wants you to look like them so that way they can really look like you. Because they keep it real when you look at all of these Caucasoid women out here, especially the ones that's getting the black babies and all of that. They be the first ones wearing Bob Marley shit and red, gold, and green and locking their hair and talking black and all this other shit. And all the original sisters is trying to do the opposite, man. It's sick. You know what I mean? So then when people like me say, okay, it's specific, it's a sickness. It's evidence of a sickness. It is. You know what I mean? And nobody wants to keep it real. Everybody wants to pick up Madam C.J. Walker because she was the first billionaire. Or let's say she was the first Oprah in history. But really look at what she gave y'all. Really look at what she did. She gave y'all the means to press, fry, destroy your crown so that way your hair can look as dead as the Caucasoid chicks that's trying to actually kick their hair out and get locks to look like you. So all of that behind that y'all sisters is putting down, all of the relaxer and everything you put in your hair, don't worry. The white girls are coming right behind you, and they're the ones that's getting the black men, and they the ones that's putting it out there because they got real straight hair, but they are trying to take your place, and you letting them do it. But again, if that's what you want to do, that's fine with me. But don't get mad at me or people like us when we're doing the knowledge to your sickness. And again, the only cure for that sickness is to literally do a Cassette Michelle and really scalp yourself. You got to cut that shit out of your hair. It's turning your scalp green. I did a lecture the other day, and I showed images of black women's scalps after they've, been interned in terms of like forensic and stuff like that. When you get the incision in the forehead or whatever when they're doing the embalming, and the tops of these black women's skulls is turning green. You understand what I'm saying? This is regardless to whatever preservatives and stuff they putting in the lye and the relaxant, all of that. They could do all of that. It's still not changing the fact that it's altering the perception of not only yourself, but of your physical reality. And the one thing that you cannot get back, which is your sanity in your mind, man. These people are literally in your mind. Every time you go to that hairdresser and all of that, every time you go to the Korean people and they the ones wearing the mask on and they doing the nails and all that other shit, you got to really do the knowledge. How come they ain't giving you no mask? Because they don't give a damn if you kill, if you die from inhaling fumes and all that other shit. They don't care. They only care about your money. And again, you're willing to, some sisters would rather die, you know what I'm saying, or would rather just be on shut-ins than to go outside with their natural hair. And everything in this society that is on that mainstream TV is promoting that shit to y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, again, this is just my tirade. in the sense of us being out here today and really observing this. You know, we're not even going to get into the obesity factor that I'm seeing a lot of our sisters is going through. It seemed like what? Every 3 women we seen was like morbidly obese. And I'm not exaggerating this shit. This shit is not cool. So then when the CDC, Center for Disease Control, as well as the Department of Mental Hygiene put out a report saying about 2034, all black women in the United States is going to be obese, y'all really is proving them right, because all I'm seeing out here is these sisters that's just really letting themselves go, man. And again, ain't nobody forcing no chicken wings in your mouth. Ain't nobody forcing you to have that next biscuit and all that other shit. The queen is saying these sisters and these people are not really aware. Look, you're aware when your ass is up to 300 pounds. You're aware when you stuffing yourself for lack of something else. You're aware when you're doing that to yourself. Like, I hear that. Right. Black women would rather have the fake fat ass now. They'd rather have the fake breast now. Right.
It's like fake titties
right.
look better to most people than real titties.
Right.
And it's like,
and I don't know when. Like, I came from the era where, like, you know, if you have fake, where it seemed like the only people that have fake breasts was like white girls. You know what I'm saying? Because really at the time they was the only ones that could afford them. You did. But what they don't tell you about the breast implants, number one, is that in the right implant there's an RFID chip in it. Number one. Number two, they're gonna tell you that you gotta swap them things out of your body every 2 to 3 years. They saying 10, but I would say 2 to keep it real, man. Because again, it's false information every 10 years. They're telling you every 10 years, but what I'm saying is based on the downgradable shit. You need to really start swapping them things out. If not every 3rd year, maybe every 5th year. Do half of that, because anything that they're telling you. Yeah, but cutting your breast open every 10 years ain't allowing the scar tissue to form itself anyway. So essentially what we're saying basically is that everything that's happening now is basically out to promote anything that is not natural. Anything that is not natural, anything that is not of the earth is going to be supported more than anything else right now. That's because the non-original people on this planet are basically running it into the ground. And the natural original people that should be going against them are the main ones now supporting this whole shit and joining their armies and joining these little proliferation groups to perpetuate the idea of an artificial society reaching into the hereafter. And it's not going to work, because those people who chose to go down with Sodom is going to go down with Sodom. Those people who feel that the only thing that they have in this life is what is physically relevant to them, there's really nothing we can do for people like that. And unfortunately, this is the majority of our people. You know, if every black woman in this country right now was to say, we're going to not perm our hair, we're going to not stand for these niggas to do such and such and such, and actively stuck to that, what would happen? What would happen would be that the men, if you wanted to get with these women, would then have to fall in line. And don't believe me? That's what the white women did with the women's suffrage movement. If you don't believe me, look at the movie Mary Poppins. That was all about the banking holiday. That was all about the women's suffrage movement. It was all about pharmaceutical drugs. It was about the changing of gold standard into credit for debt. And it was also about pedophilia. But the underlying thing in that, the mother was down for women's suffrage. And women's suffrage was basically built on the premise of, if these white men will not give us our rights, then we are going to withhold sex from them. And it worked. You know what I'm saying? It worked. It worked so well
The original black women started becoming the nannies for these same white women who stood up to these white men by withholding sex. But then when the feminism movement, the government created the feminism movement to turn these same women who was fighting for women's rights into the type of women that would become men. And this is where we are right now. There are too many of us that are dependent upon other people's images or perception of us to be ourselves. Somebody else does not have anything to do with you so long as you allow it. But unfortunately, see, me as an original man, us as original men, people already know we really not going to conform to shit here. So we don't. You know, that's why when you see dudes, you know, that's out here and they're actively, like, doing things to actively, you know, fit in, alter their voice, alter the bass in their voice, take the bass out, you know, make sure they pitch a certain level, you know, always make sure they got a bald head so that way they don't have to grow no afro and no locks and no shit like that. That, all of that type of shit, that's equivalent to what women have felt that they needed to do. But men are not. Black men don't do that. We actually do the opposite. You know what I mean? So we should really start doing a nod to that. And the overall lesson in that is that we need to start loving ourselves as we are. Not as how we want to be, not as how we're going to be. But you got to love yourself in the moment that you're in. Because you never know, man. Moments are fleeting. And moments are some of the only things that we can't get back in this physical reality. So we got to do what we got to do. Speaking of moments, doing the knowledge to the so-called ecological terrorism that's going on. The first thing they tried to use, you know, the so-called top hat, which is an allusion to Baron Samadi, right? That didn't work, but we knew that wasn't going to work. Now, then they tried what they call a top kill, right? That didn't work. It actually broke up, and now they're saying they found something else. So now they're saying they're not really going to have an active way to hold everything down until the second month of Jason. Now, for people who don't know, Jason is not just a name, not just a Greek name. It's the name of, in our situation, on an occult level, it stands for July, August, September, October, November. Those are the highest ritualistic killing months of the year. Jason officially starts after St. John's Day. Those Masons know what that is. St. John's Day happens usually around June 21st, I believe it is. And that's when Sirius can't be seen in the horizon. That's a Masonic holiday because that was the date of the Sons of Liberty, who came out of another group called the Sons of St. Tammany. That's when they got together to help depose the old Dominion Moorish Empire. But they needed to do it on a day that Sirius could not be seen, based on the genetic and superphysical connection a lot of our astral travelers have with that section of the galaxy. So, if they're saying they're doing this in August, you know, that's the A month. So, essentially, what they're saying is they're not going to close it. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to fix it. It's not going to be fixed. Which means that all of what we would consider, you know, the breadbasket or Middle America, all of that type of stuff, that stuff, especially Louisiana, Alabama, Texas, you know, y'all, anybody that's out there is really in for it, man. What you may want to start doing is from now, starting to, when you buy food, especially seafood, things like that, make sure that it's imported. This also means that the price of seafood is going to go up. This means that the price of fish and things like that is going to go up in areas, in those states in particular. You know what I'm saying? So you really need to start preparing for that now. Also, people should start looking into filtration devices, as well as you can go online and research peat moss, P-E-A-T, moss. It's a natural oil dispersant that grows out the ground. You could also look into blue algae, blue-green algae. That's another oil dispersant that they're not telling the people about. To me, I was looking over some old books that I had by this guy, Edgar Casey. They used to call him the Sleeping Prophet. He was a Caucasian guy who was into metaphysics and the occult, and he made a lot of prophecies that allegedly came true. Wow. That eventually came true. So in that, he basically made a prediction that the area right now that I was just talking about, the Gulf, as well as Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. He basically saying that all of that is going to be inundated with water. All of that's going to be underwater one day. And when I'm doing the knowledge, the only way I could see that happening is if there's some type of deep ocean swell, earthquake, tectonic shift, something that causes a giant flood or tsunami or whatever that's going to come and wash all of that oil away. That's the only way that it's actually going to get out of there, you know. And even then, if they don't close the vents, notice I said vents, plural. It's not just one hole. It's actually like around 7 of them. But see, what's happening is that the oil that comes out is supposed to, let's say, rise to the top. But what's happening is a lot of that oil is staying down at the bottom, almost like little implosives based on the oxygen levels down there, as well as the what they call crystalline filaments that's weighing some of it down. So it takes longer for it to rise up. So they can't really tell. So the oil that you see on the top of the water is not necessarily equivalent to all of the oil that you're not seeing that's at the bottom. That's not only flowing towards the path of, let's say, the Gulf, but it's also now going further west. They're not telling nobody that, but every other minute we've seen these military helicopters going through. Case in point, some of those military helicopters, the head of the military right now, Joint Chiefs, is basically saying that y'all need to just hand the whole operation over to the military. Now, if they hand it over to the military, this again is case in point for them to now militarize the whole situation, which would then mean that you would have force removals, you know what I mean? Force removals, neighborhood zoning, extraction protocols, all of the things that would happen in a war zone, you know what I mean? Which then means that they could actually enact more amendments to further implement that. The only reason why they may not do that right now is because there's so many Caucasian people over there. But remember, Texas is also going through this whole thing with Mexico right now, you know, with the war that's going down. So this thing is manifesting on so many different levels now that it's basically to the point where it's forcing change. Not only change in people's perception of government, but change in how people perceive energy and how they need to use it. Because this whole event happened maybe 2 months after the president said that they could do offshore drilling again. He lifted the moratorium on it. A moratorium is when they put something in and say they're never going to do it again. So, who knows? Oh, yeah. That's true. Now, a lot of this stuff that's happening, you know, it's scripted. You know what I mean? And a lot of it isn't. Like, the pertinent questions about this whole fiasco are not being asked, and therefore they're not going to be pursued. Therefore, there'll be more, you know, like I said last week, you're not really going to see or find out what really happened or how deep this thing went until they make the first movie about it, probably by next year. You know, in which they'll have like George Clooney and Brad Pitt. It'll be like either like a Syriana type thing, or they'll flip it into like a burn after reading type comedy or whatever. But either way, there's gonna be a couple movies on it. That's when you'll see the main players and shit. Because the only real truth that comes out now, unfortunately, is in the entertainment. Like the basic truth is out there in books and everything else that everybody could get, but the majority of the stuff is going to come out in the films because they know that they can't kill the energy of what truth is. So they have to put it out there, but they put it out there in a form that you won't believe. Therefore, if you fall victim to it, then it's just on you, which is the name of the game. You know, pass the buck, pass the blame. Today is also Memorial Day, you know, so we should definitely light candles and say prayers for all of the fallen dead, all of the fallen soldiers who thought they was dying for noble causes, who were manipulated by their governments and didn't really know why they was dying, or felt they was doing it for whatever reason. And I mean this of everybody, of all so-called Americans and anybody in the world who's going out for this bullshit. Because in the end, that's really what it is. You know? Because now is not the time for us to be warring amongst each other. Now is the time to do the opposite. Now is the time to understand that there are differences, but then look for the commonality within the difference, which then makes the whole subject what it is, you know? And what really is we are at the point where we can't continue on the path that we've been going. We can't. Because if we could, then we would continue. But it seems like the more you continue like this, the more deep in the mind you get. So it's basically, you know, it's like this. You don't put on a condom unless you're ready to have sex. You know what I'm saying? So you don't really sit on a toilet until you're ready to go, you know? So everybody that's been pretending and all of the false realities that have been set up to give life to distract people from their own inner voices and inner truths are all being stripped away. And as they're stripped away, nothing that is artificial can exist. Therefore, existence itself is repelling false existence. And in so, it is carving out a reality for itself for only that which is natural can exist. So any artificial aspects that we inject into it are going to come back to us in a form of confrontation based on the natural ebb and flow of how everything celestially is moving around us, through us, beneath us, above us, inside us. So those are just some things, you know, you start to do the knowledge to, because if there was going to be a so-called, you know, another so-called black revolution, man, now is the time for it to go down. Yet all I see is black folk going out and fighting hard to keep this thing going. You know, my uncle used to say, yeah, niggas will join the army to go fight somebody else because they scared to fight here. And that's real, you know. And therefore, you know, those of us that still have a certain affinity for the culture of which we truly are, we are now, let's say, the minority within this new post-racial, quote-unquote, black America. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we all got to find our way in, through, and around that if we really going to make something happen. The act of pulling one reality and trying to phase it on top of another one would be synonymous or symbolic to how the magician or the guy who's, you know, performing a trick will move his hand over something and you now see that. In magic, that's called the legerdemain. Legerdamain. And that is the manner of being able to, transport one thing to the other. In quantum physics, it's called supermassive frame dragging. Because a stick, for instance, right, is like, comes from a tree. But then you can take that stick and carve it into, you know, a sculpture. Or you can turn that stick into a pencil. Or you could, you know, cut it up and use it for firewood. Or you could turn it into a pen. You could do mad different things with this one natural thing. But in the end, the essence of it is still, it was a stick, you see? So regardless to what you become in your journey here, what you came here to do is essentially what you're going to wind up doing. It's just whether or not you have the ability to figure it out and follow that, or deny it and try to do other things to keep the physical part of why you're here going. And that's where most of us get caught up in, you know, 7 deadly sins, you know, vanity, gluttony, sloth, you know, envy, all of that type of stuff are just aberrant ideas that exist and permeate in this thing that we call third density. Therefore, it's actively a part of the material plane that gets activated through spiritual means, meaning through your spirit choosing to indulge in one of those low vibrational frequencies, which then allow those frequencies to work through you, which then allows you to create more of those frequencies in your cipher as well as any other cipher you come in contact with. That's the supernatural or the spiritual version of it. The physical version of that would be somebody with, let's say, a disease, and then they wind up sleeping with other people and passing on and passing on and passing on. Both things are of the same energy. Therefore, both things have the same input and output. They're just operated under different mechanisms based on who and what is operating. So supermassive frame dragging is a quantum form of where it's basically you have huge rotational objects and you pull or calculate the space-time around them, around the objects only, and not factor in everything else that's going on. That is usually the model of modern aeronautics, what they would call aeronautics. That's how they kind of just do the knowledge. They'll do the knowledge to each individual orb or planet, you know, and then they'll have another group that will then study the planets and the space in between them. And then you have another group that studies, you know, the planets, the space in between them, and what makes up the space and the planets in between them, and then so forth and so on. Instead of just doing the knowledge to the fact that these things exist, because there is a spiritual, benevolent intelligence that's manifesting all of it, that we are aspects of. This is also called 0-point energy. This is the part of the 2012 thing and not really talking about either. You get the book called Time in the Technosphere. The guy, Jose Arguelles, he has a real good explanation in there on it. There's another book you could get called Crystal Power and Crystal Healing by Michael Geiger. Yeah, Geiger. For those people who are into the numerological aspects of it, the book Numerological Aspects of It, you could check a book called Numerology and the Divine Triangle by Javon, Javone. Another good book to do knowledge to is The Destruction of Black Civilization, classic by Chancellor Williams. I think everybody that's on a conscious level should read that book periodically, just to stay sharp, because it was many jewels in that. Big up to Chancellor Williams, one of the veterans. Big up to all of the veterans, you know, who came before us and put in the work that they had to do in order for us to be able to open this forum, you know. Big up to all of the fallen veterans that we don't even know, all of the individual original people in their own communities doing this work, that's not doing DVDs, that's not doing tapes, that's not doing anything, that's not really getting the recognition, but they doing it, you know. Big up to everybody that emails us and has supported, you know, because we're all veterans in this war, you know, the grand war that we've been in for the past 249 years plus, you know. Big up to all of the ancient Moors and the ancient originals, that civilizations that don't get named a lot, like the Lydians, Lydians, the Elamites, Elamites, the Dravidians, the Etruscans, yeah, the Fuzzy Wuzzy people. Dude, Google that. Google the Fuzzy Wuzzy people and see what you see. The Big Buffalo people, Sadagi, you know, there's so many, yo. There's so many. It's like you be doing announced to one civilization and then wind up running into mad other ones that are equivalent to that one because they all have the same source, you know. Another book you can get, a book called Cavalier and Yankee, The Old South and the American National Character by a guy named Taylor. so many. The Falasha Anthology, The Black Jews of Ethiopia, by Wolf Leslau, Leslau. Another good book, if you can get it, because some of these books have been, I meant to tell you that too, some of these books is banned in the United States. So, good luck. Another good book is African Dionysus by Dr. Muwata Ashby. The Anacalypsis 1 and 2, Volume 1 and 2. Dictionary of Angels by David Oberson. The Magus by a man named Barrett, Barrett. The Key to the True Kabbalah by Franz Bardon, another veteran who lost his life to the Nazis trying to get literally strangle more science out of him. That's the day. The Bezels of Wisdom by Ibn al-Arabi. Anything by Ibn al-Arabi is next level. A lot of people like Rumi, but I think, in my opinion, if there's a better, I think he is. His understanding to me is a lot clearer. The Metuneta by Ra'u Nefer. Definitely. Yeah. Books. Definitely The Prince by Machiavelli. Definitely do the knowledge for that. Faust. Faust is good because Shakespearean drama or Shakespeare, do the knowledge for that real quick. A lot of people have a lot of different interpretations of him or it, company and all of that. And all of that is, and most of it is true. They actually, Shakespeare was actually Francis Bacon, and, he actually studied under the Super Order of the Rose, and he brought the Rosicrucians back to Europe, and, he was contracted through the Bible, and then he set up the Shakespeare Company with all these different writers and musicians and laureates and all of that stuff. But even before Shakespeare, there was, if you want to get into some of the ancient Roman stuff, there was the greatest poet in Rome was Lucanus, and he was a black man, and his plays were ripe with symbolism as to what was going down in his day, because essentially it's the same thing. But the prose and the writing of Shakespeare, the Bible, any books like that are written in that type of language specifically to make the reader or the reciter have to open up the channel that existed at the time that this Moore put all of this stuff down. Therefore, what happens is we establish what's called a psychic rapport between the time that it was done and the time that is happening now. The best people who've done Shakespeare, people like greats like Ira Aldrich, you know what I'm saying, who did like Othello and stuff like that, Paul Robeson. These people, went into such a degree that they literally became or are the character, because we are always the embodiment of whatever was written about us. So when we do it, it's not only a form of time travel when everybody do it, but when we do it, we are basically reestablishing the idea of what it was written for, because it was written to talk to us about the destruction or the decay of the Moorish Empire as a whole. You know what I'm saying? That's why Hamlet, the King of Denmark, and all that type of stuff, all of those people, we're talking about the destruction of the Holy Roman Empire, you know what I mean? Or the fracturing of the global Moorish Empire, in which now it was amalgamating into what we understand the present modern age to be. Yet all of that history was rewritten by people like Horace Greeley, Thaddeus Stevens, John D. Rockefeller, Norman D. Rockefeller, and these people. So when we talk about us being these people in modern society, even black people look at us like we crazy, because all of the movies and all of the stuff that they done seen on it, not white people doing. Yet, the further back in time you go, the darker the people get. You know what I'm saying? So that means in the farther in the future you go, it has to be the same, which is what's happening now. So when, you do the knowledge of things like Niccolo Machiavelli and the things that he was doing the knowledge to, you can literally apply it to things that's going on now. Like a lot of people are really into Sun Tzu, but Sun Tzu is just another, Sun Tzu is cool, but there's another book that you could get called Hagakure, Hagakure, Hagakure. The book of, it's actually called the Book of Leaves, but that's what it would be called. It's the original Bushido stuff that was written down by the Bushido caste of Moors that existed in ancient Nihon, which is Japan, which was set up by a Moor named Sakanoye Yamamoto. And he, when you look at pictures of him over there, is as dark as Khalid Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? But he came by way of Dravidian India. And he served the Naga Emperor and set up the warrior caste based on the Moorish knights that he and his father and them had came from. There's another Moor you could research that ruled Dravidian or Kushite Indian named Malik Ambar. One of the capitals over there is called Ambar after him. Another jet black Khalid Muhammad type black man that was running the world in Southeast Asia at the time. So, to all these veterans, we say peace. So we're going to get into another joint and then we get into some calls. This is a joint called Heinous Art by Saga Saad Ali. What's up, homie?
Physical position now, pushing me to listen like sacrifice attention mentioning, and it's that thinking now. Who gon' cross the borders, exposing you thinking orders? You sacrifice mothers, daughters for the forces of the focus. Watch out for mental disorder in this information age. Nobody wants to walk, everyone needs to segue. If you was a monitor, what goes on is the monitor, you would know the thermometer, the complex of the thermometer. Break the puzzle like Sudoku with a vocal. Get the princess back with that attack. Coast school, this is not the worry you were booties like what Jerry do. The shit was fucked up way before George W. Financial crisis takes a license 1922. Give me control of the money, who cares who makes the Lord? Rothschild told you, they do it on their own accord. While you drive behind the Accord, wishing you would get a reward for purchasing things you can't afford. Billions to take on the war, while closing down food for the poor. Got enemies from road to send back to the shore. Open your eyes before it's too late. They need to delegate a debate. Just make sure keep your bearings straight. No matter if it's fiction or fate, you still gotta date with the date. Akashic records what they used to relate. They know everything you ate off your plate. They blame it on the goose of Patron with the great. Not the great Jackie, more like the great escape. Like mass sneaking into South American states, forcing the natives to expatriate. The vocal lose the dopamine. Now you can't get cocaine locally. High potency, watch your moves, you can lose. No matter what you choose, if they turn up like vegetables, that your vegetables accepting you, actions won't be ethical.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Super Heru Radio, saying peace. Yeah, I was doing knowledge to, oh, by the way, that was, Brother Saga Sa off the 44 LP. Everybody definitely check that out. It's on, Super Heru Radio, as well as his, MySpace, Saga Sa Ali, and, you got it for free download. But, yeah, I was doing it on the chat room. You was talking about the Book of Five Rings. Yeah, that's definitely a major joint, because that basically was like an Asian version of the Bushido version of like the Hermetic principle. And it did a lot in the establishment of or the transition from going from Shinto into Buddhism. You know, a lot of people don't really talk about Shinto, but Shinto is like pre-dynastic, the pre-dynastic religion of Kemet. It's very, very old and ancient, but essentially it's the same deities and the same overall principles, you know. But a lot of those images, those red, black, and green pyramids that's in the Chinese hinterlands is Shinto orientated. So we'll get into some calls real quick. Anybody want to holler? Ask any questions? Okay, we'll go to, I think this is the homie. Peace. Super Heru Radio.
Peace.
What's up?
What's going on?
BK nobody in. What's up, homie?
Ain't nothing much. Peace to you and the Queen and the Fire.
Thanks, King.
What's going on?
Yeah,
some people could see the images of that old Asian dynasty if they watch The Last Mummy with the Dragon Emperor.
Oh yeah, the Dragon Emperor, right?
Right. In the beginning, they would see the rider riding towards the general, and you see three gigantic pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
In what would be the ancient world. Mm-hmm. And also in the movie, you see that it was wearing feathers. So
you see,
people just have to do the knowledge. And there's old paintings too that would show Asian people wearing feathers. To this day, you have females who wear red and blue turbans. So you know what that's.
Yeah, all in Malaysia, all the Southeast Asian shit.
Indonesia, the president wears a fez. So
yeah,
it's a natural headdress.
The King of Mumbai, all them niggas.
Right.
Because they living off our inheritance, man. Them niggas is just lamping it up, son.
That's it. It's the mulatto inheritance, and I gotta thank you for bringing light to that, to show how
thank you, brother.
We were basically fighting against our children and our mulatto self.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, that's really what's going on, man.
And then when I took it upon myself to go to, the museums and the historical libraries and centers here to look at the artifacts and the pictures and things like that, I was able to see it for myself.
Mhm.
So
that's what it takes sometimes, man.
Right.
It's when you can literally be opinion. Like we was in New York, we was giving museum tours, So we would do them, and then the sanction tour that's going on, would like wait till we was done, or like bypass to where the area we was at, like all together, like they really was not trying to have they people, you know, see all of these niggas with arcs and shit going in on, you know, what's really hood, because then, you know, those museums are like tombs, you know, in that sense. So it's like these people are literally walking through the graveyard claiming ownership of all of the bodies and shit just because, you know, they built the graveyard. But essentially, they know at any time the dead is still walking up through there, which is us.
Right.
Well, not us, but, you know, symbolically us. And in that, then they never know when the spark is going to come and the dead start walking, like Lazarus. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, like you said, like all of that is definitely real, man. You know.
Speaking on the weave and perm epidemic, like the sisters really don't understand the chemical warfare. Like this dude that came up with the Jerry curl and stuff like that. If we look at what periods of time that we were doing, and then when these things were introduced to us, how we just kept on falling in different degrees. Because it's a warfare. Like I've spoken to a female who has a friend that works as a mortician, and she was telling me about that green slime.
Green slime on the head, man.
From the scalp after the sisters pass away. That shows the deterioration. And also shows that it goes through the pores of the head. Because it amazes me how these sisters want to put gloves on.
Yeah.
But they don't want to protect their own scalp.
Yeah. But then these same women will do some shit like, well, I don't cook. They won't, like, touch a diaper or like, you know what I'm saying? Or, like, they'll do, like, all types of other crazy shit, but then, like, with their own head, they just really just want some, like, I'll sleep sitting up shit.
And the brothers, too.
Like, yeah.
Trying to get these 360s and all that.
Trying to get the 360, they perm their hair. They because they're becoming the women. Because there is no, the drive of that dominant male drive is being beat out of not only black men, just men, period. They want all men to be women because it makes them that easier to conquer when they're all on some feminine shit. That's why they're having such a problem with this military gay thing, because the military itself is gay. This is not saying that all the brothers in that is homosexual. It's just to say that the very premise of how it's set up is based on gladiatorial Roman ex mortis type of trauma-based program. It's not like the Gogi that would go on with the Zulus and shit. That's different. It's a manner of breaking the male where he only functions in society from the perspective of being with a different version of himself, not the opposite, which then becomes a narcissistic way. And then the battlefield and the war trauma is used as a means of binding the two men to the experience. So that way, even if he's with a female or his wife or somebody he loves, he doesn't feel that she could really understand. Only a dude who was in the foxhole or the trench or the shit or whatever could really understand what that's like. And then when you have a bunch of niggas or men always yelling at you every day, see what I'm saying? It creates an imbalance in which you can't really function. That's why most of these guys be on meds. It's this whole Gulf War syndrome. That shit didn't start with the war because there was no war over there, right? That's what I seen in Jarhead. That's what I saw in what's the other one? Three Kings and shit. It was no war. So where'd they get the trauma from? They got the trauma from all the drugs that they pumped in them niggas, like you seen in Manchurian Candidate.
Right.
And then they sent them back over here the same way they did in Nam. That whole Nam shit, Nam might as well just been called MK Ultra. The whole shit was a op. Because at the time, we was waking up spiritually over here. We had niggas like Jim Kelly fucking with Bruce Lee, and it was about to bring us back to the whole Nagar frequency. So they had to use that energy of that place and then send us over there as zombies of our former selves to terrorize the so-called native Vietnamese who worshipped us because they lived in all the temples and shit that was around here. But then when they saw that we was brain dead and shit, they rose up and got more powerful because they felt that they conquered us. See? That's Kim Jong-il and these niggas was grown up in this program. So now this nigga's your enemy? You made this nigga.
Wow.
All y'all niggas made this nigga.
Yeah, when I did the knowledge too, like flu shots and clinic shots, I saw that the first time it started was with the military.
See?
And then it became popular when Medicare and all these government programs was now starting to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only recently.
Exactly. It's always the damn military. The internet started with the damn military. Shit was out in the 40s. Niggas was Googling in the 40s, son. Before you even had computers, niggas was Googling. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, dude, we really are, like I said, dude, these dudes is in line for iPads, dude. With no damn diodes and shit. So now you not only get the brain tumor, you get, cancer in your lap and your genitals and shit because you got this iPod on your lap all day. You know what I mean? Sending waves to your penis. But then we're not going to hear about that until, 5 years from now. And that's until somebody wins some money and then they start giving people money back for the shit that they killed them with. It's crazy.
Which is a device, just like any touchscreen device, that really works off of body censoring, or basically the electricity that comes from your body. Wow. Right, I got a question for you. You ever heard of anything called the White Brotherhood, or the Brotherhood of the Seven Serpents?
Yes.
But from what I researched, for example, they were the adepts of the adept.
Yeah.
And Akhenaten was said to be initiated in this group when he took a trip over here in the Yucatan. And then when he graduated, he went right back to Egypt. That's when he started that One God movement over there.
The Aton shit with the oversoul. Yeah.
Right. Do you have any books? Do you know any books on that?
If you read about the Moors that was over there at the time period, you're basically reading about them.
Okay.
Sometimes you got to search, like, there's really any book that you would read now, let's say about Akhenaten over here, would be any book by Barry Fell.
Right.
He wrote a book called Southern America, and then he wrote another one called America D.C., and then he wrote another joint. But there's another joint. Anything that you read about the Olmec people within that time period, specifically around their rites and rituals. But see, the thing about that is that nothing was written down by them.
Right, just like Teotihuacan.
That we're reading, everything that we're reading about the Olmecs is based, that's not written by us, or that we're referencing, is coming from. The most credible one to me would be somebody like a guy named Alexander von Wutenau or Barry Fell. They were Shriners. So at least if it's a Shriner writing shit, then you're going to get some of the Moorish shit in it. There's another book you can get called Asiatic Kingdoms in Old America, or Asiatic Kingdoms in Ancient America.
All right.
And there's a couple others. But yeah, any books that you read about that specific time period and those rights, then what you do is you compare, let's say, what the rights were of the modern-day version of what is going on with that. Because the modern-day version of that is really us now. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we don't have a basic form or place that we can congress to really build on this type of shit collectively. So it's almost like everybody their own individual school right now, and then when the shit goes down, whatever happens, and then we all need to contribute whatever it is we've learned about the story to getting out of it or making something else happen, you know.
Because I was researching things like Imhotep, and you will see that the way that we do lectures now, like Imhotep was doing lectures.
Exactly.
And people was coming from all over the world and building on things.
Exactly.
And
to hear him talk about the shit that we talking about right now, it's just that
right.
He was speaking about it from it not even happening yet. We speaking about it from the point that it already happened. You know what I'm saying? But again, man, we talking about people who already knew that they was immortal, so they really wasn't focusing on time like that. That's why, again, the Olmecs, the shit that they did, they just carved heads and shit. You know, the shit, they said, niggas want to read about us, read the wall, read the temples, read the heads. That's it. You know, the Egyptians did the same. We always do that. That's how you know it's us. It's just that we have disassociated ourselves from that. You know, there's a book you can get called Servants of Allah. It's called African Muslims Enslaved in the Americas. And there's some deep history in there.
All right, no doubt.
On that shit. So
let somebody else get him. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, King. Peace. Peace. You rocking around with Super Heru Radio. Anybody there?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Peace. How you doing?
Peace, Queen. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually calling. This is a question that my man actually wanted to ask, but with his work schedule, he's never able to call in and all of that. So, it's a question I also want to know too. What is your take on the rising number of black women dating white guys, and also on his job, he's just noticing where a lot of his coworkers and a lot of women are really like breaking their necks to really flirt with white guys more, and they're really going out of their way to try to get their attention, and so it's just really, he's been asking about. I mean, he's just been asking about this for a while now, and we've been talking about it because he just really has been noticing on his job and just out and about where black women are really trying to, a large number that are really trying to I guess go out on a limb for.
Yeah, they've given up. Essentially, what you're seeing is the result of a program that started a long time ago, but in recent history, remember that movie Something New?
Yeah. With Sanaa Lathan.
Okay. Yeah, that movie was one of that was like the coming out party for the agenda, and basically what they want is they need to get black women to open their vaginas to them, so that way they can create more Obama-type black men that would get rid of the darker-skinned black man but still have that melanin base through her. So what they're looking for is the type of woman that could wear an African kente cloth outfit and be standing right with her Nazi man in the Nazi uniform, while he's hanging black men. This is who they want. But they know that they've dummied down the black woman so much that all she really knows about herself is that she can have sex. So all they make is movies that promote the idea of her being with him to make her think that white man is the way to go. Because the closer that she moves to him, the closer away from God she's going, because she's not doing it based on love. She's doing it based on conditioning, and she's doing it based on the fact that she don't want her girlfriend to outdo her with her white man. So she's going to do it for means of vanity and means of material security at the expense of her soul, her children, and her people's future. But that doesn't matter because she would rather look and be like Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City. That's why, like I say, you see packs of women, black women walking together, scantily clad and shit with no men. And you see packs of men walking together, trying to get those women, but scared to deal with them because these women are so hypersexual based on the fact that they debased themselves to the point that they would allow the descendant of someone who raped their mother, you know, not literally, but spiritually and figuratively, ancestrally they did. And you could forgive that, but you can't forgive the fact that this nigga may snore or he may not make as much money as you want.
Right, exactly.
He may whatever.
Exactly.
They'll forgive anything from, like I said, if Justin Timberlake stands on a corner with his pants sagging and, you know, smoking weed and shit, it's like, oh, he's dope. You know, he's hot. He got swag. But then if you see a regular black person, black male doing that, then it's like, oh, look at this criminal. He should, you know, pull his pants up. You see what I'm saying? Justin Bieber do it, it's all good.
Exactly.
And because black women, like Alicia Keys and every black woman that's on TV now support this, black women globally or socially think that this is real.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they make it real for themselves. So really at his job, what he should feel good about is the fact that the more he sees these women play themselves, the more he should feel happy of the fact that they're not trying to bring that sickness to him.
Right, exactly. Right.
They're sick. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't get mad if a real stupid person called you stupid because you know that this person is stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? So why would I get mad if a stupid person called me stupid?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know? So essentially that's really what's going on. This is a part of a program that they created post MK Ultra called MK Naomi, where they was going in on people like that, on black men and black women, and keep them from getting together. Because now is the time where Aseer and Aset are on the throne.
Mhm.
You know.
Exactly.
And now that we're supposed to be there, they have to have the opposite. That's why even on that show with Chili on it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, she rode off in the sunset with, yeah.
She walked right off into the sunset with the white man.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the exact same words. I was about to say she walked off in the sunset with this guy.
She walked off with him, right? Just like Halle Berry, who's eating the vanilla ice cream cone and realizes that the white Nazi that she just had sex with that threw up after he had sex with her killed her husband and killed her son. And she smiles and chooses to be with the nigga. And then they pan up into the space to say, okay, now we're taking this image to the stars. And these black women are eating it up, yo. They eating it up. So you should feel good, too, as an original woman because you're in your right mind.
Right.
You got a man.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got friends. I mean, like this one girl, I've known her maybe 5 or 6 years now, and she's in her mid-30s. And what's that?
No, I'm listening to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and, and she, and I appreciate you doing the whole knowledge on the hair. I have locks myself, and, one of my friends that I've known, she always makes these comments about, I've got to have my hair Indian straight. I just can't stand for it to, kink up, and, and she has all these standards about men that she wants, and, I mean, she hasn't had a man in she hasn't had a date in 5 years. I mean, it's really pathetic. I mean, but she has all these standards, and, she's got to get her perm every 2 weeks or ever, as long as it has to be, her exact words are Indian straight. Her hair has to be Indian straight. I think that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. So.
She ain't never seen an Indian. All right.
Exactly. And that's why I'm like, oh, my goodness. And so this Indian straight thing is just crazy. And, and when a few years back, when I went natural, and I'm a teacher, and it's amazing because before I had my locks, I just had the afro and just natural out or whatever. The white kids were so mesmerized. I mean, they wanted to touch it. They just didn't know what they were just, they loved, oh, my goodness. It was like, yeah, exactly.
They would kill one of their own people just for them to have the right to touch it themselves. This is
exactly. I mean, literally, they were just, these were like 11, 12-year-old kids. So, oh my goodness, it's just.
Yeah, I was watching this shit on Sandra Bullock, and they said that this bitch knew that she was getting the baby almost a year ahead of the time, and for that whole year, she didn't tell nobody, not her mother, not nobody. that she was going to get this black baby. Now, again, I'm not saying that she hates black people or nothing. I'm just saying that the trend of these white women, I was at the beach today. I saw this white chick today. She had like the Irish kind of thick, kind of curly hair.
Right.
She had a fleet of black kids with her that she had for this one black man. She had about 5 of these little niggas.
Wow.
These niggas was all shades. These white women are not playing. They are going hard for the black man, especially the one with knowledge of himself, because they know that this white man is going to lead the world to destruction. And they have agreed that they are going to harvest as many black babies that they could get to genetically put themselves in the frequency, so that way when they pass their millions on to this black kid, the black kid would then have the choice, because he's been raised crazy with these white folks, to keep this agenda going for them. And these black women are supporting that shit. So you,
yes,
sister,
they are.
You, sister, basically represent the 1.2% of original women who are still in their right mind. So I commend you, my queen commends you and your man. And any
Thank
time
you.
Now, you know what I'm saying? Because again, this is what they don't want. They don't want to see two original people together. And almost like original people feel they can't be together now. Because because they want to get money.
Exactly,
and that's cool. But when it comes time to pay Paul, you know what I'm saying? You're going to go down with this shit. And we're going to be some well. So thank you for calling, sister. And tell you, man,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Peace to you and your queen. I really appreciate all you all do.
Peace.
Peace.
Doing Super Heru Radio.
Hello?
Peace.
Peace. Can you hear me?
What's up, brother? Yeah, I can hear you.
It's on. I just want to say that a lot of people, I haven't heard nobody really say that these Caucasians, they don't have hair, they have fur. That's why if anybody could make a bet with me, if they know any original person ever caught head lice, I would give them everything I own.
That's right, brother.
That's why we don't get head lice and those stuff, but they get it.
That's
because they have fur.
That's right. That's
you
right.
Know, so all these sisters who killing themselves. Yep. All these sisters who killing themselves, perming the hair and frying the pineal gland and destroying the melanin in the body, you know, they have something to think about. I think it's in the book Dirt. There's a book called Dirt. Yeah. But
there's a couple of them, man, that get into any books that you read. Freud, one of the biggest gods in this bullshit, he wrote a real good book. I forget the title of it, but it's one that he did on the psyche of the white male. And he really goes in on that. And again, he knows because they studied them to the point to maintain that agenda. So yeah, man, that's definitely what's going on. A friend of mine said, white folk that just walk around with hair in their mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like 2 years ago, I was watching the news, and they was talking about this woman in Long Island. A bird got in her vent, and they had to take her to the hospital and quarantine the whole house because she got bird lice. I never even knew bird had lice.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
So it was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. The deep ones, the ones with the deep recessive traits.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them now, based on amalgamation, have allowed themselves, a lot of them, their children have a certain degree of fictitious melanin. They call it EU melanin.
Yeah.
Or phylomelanin, which is an aberrant synthetic form of it that is left over from the residual melanin that's used to create the fetus.
Yeah.
From the original person that injected this thing into them. So
yeah.
They get to hold it for a time. That's why, again, these white women are the ones that's going so hard for it, because they know they know when you watch these movies, you see the black man and the white woman working together to save the world and shit.
Yep.
So you see than a white man. Because they don't want either one with their own archetype. Because if the white man stay with the white woman, he's gonna have sex with himself into extinction. If me and this black woman keep having sex, we're gonna create more gods and more goddesses. They don't want that.
Yeah.
And a lot of black people don't want that though.
No.
Forget the white man. A lot of black folk don't want that. A lot of black folk hate themselves so much that he would rather not see himself with a darker skinned woman. You know what I mean? Rather see himself recreated as a light skinned woman. And there are black people that are plugged into that whole talented tent, boule, establishment, black upper class community that are perpetuating this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, brother. Thank you for that add-on, man, because people need to hear that.
All right, peace.
Not everybody is the same.
Yep, I know.
Peace, my brother.
Peace.
Peace. You want Super Heru Radio?
Hey, is that me?
Peace. I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to take it back to what you were saying about the East Asian thing. I have a photo here of an Ainu man, and I'm going to put it in the chat room. Just take a look at this guy, and just based on what you see, look at the shape of the nose and the high cheekbones and all of that. Tell me where you think this guy comes from. And also, it's funny when you look at the description of this guy. It says that they're an ancient race of Caucasians that came to Japan, and I mean, just look at this guy. I mean, this person looks like someone who could be in my family. He looks like a distant, relative. And here's a photo of his clothes here. That I mean, it looks like totally African-looking garb, and it's just. And I only mention this because my entry to this kind of higher knowledge was from the East Asian stuff, and when I got into Kemetic philosophy and Morse and all of that, I mean, it's like they're two sides of the same coin. It's just so similar.
I mean, ultimately, yeah, but this is what they do. This is what I mean about the legerdemain and having a sleight of hand. You have a picture of what the people really are, and then you put the word Caucasian next to them. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
Some people, most people are dummied down to the point that they automatically assume, like if you don't know the word Sumerian mean black people, if you don't know the word Etruscan, Minoan, Mycenaean, you know what I mean, Numidian, Garamant, you know what I mean? If you don't know these words mean black people, you will be reading shit and you will be thinking that you're reading about Caucasian people because the Caucasian people would have made everything else. You know what I'm saying? So people, and that's not fair. It's not fair.
Well, they don't play the game fair. It's never. If they played it fair, it would have been a rap, from the beginning.
But these are the people who are creating the rules of what fair is. You see what I'm saying? This is how it's
exactly.
This shit has become. It's become to the point that this oil slick has shown the world that the United States is totally incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They are right. The United States right now is ripe for invasion. You know what I'm saying? Anything that these foreign people want to do, the United States is wide open for that shit because this oil slick has shown that a foreign company, BP, you know what I mean, in conjunction with the South Korean company, another foreign company that's puppeted by the United States, but still, you know what I mean, can come over here and have their war, you know what I mean, totally destroy the ecosystem of the breadbasket of the country. Like, it's really over, man. So we just got to, really begin to do the knowledge, really start researching, okay, if the Nagar people was like this, you know what I mean? If I wind up having to go to Asia, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a culture.
Absolutely. That's what I tell people all the time is because, a lot of people that I talk to, online and stuff say, oh, the Chinese, they hate us, they hate niggas. You go into their store, they look at you funny and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, just because the dude that you know at your store looks at you funny and doesn't like you, you need to go into that history because you're going to find, with the first, I think it was the Shang Dynasty, I mean, you're going to find an entire section of your own history and the land that you are damning with your words and with your ignorance. Pardon my frankness about it. But Asia is a major key to the thing.
I was in the Chinese restaurant one time, and the Chinese nigga said something. He happened to be Chinese. And he said some real bullshit to me. And I said, you know, fool, I'm going to curse you for that. That nigga.
Yeah.
That nigga, yo, son, this nigga almost like he was trying to give me money. Like, I be telling, like you said, man, I be telling these original people, man, you don't even know how much juice you got around the world. Like, if you tell some Chinese person about Wuhan, you tell some, you call Japan their home instead of Japan, see how they talk to you. Your whole, I went to Japan, my whole shit was elevated just because I knew the history of the shit I was talking about. I was sitting down with prime ministers and shit, just at dinner. Wow. They would just come, because where I was staying, the Shorty's parents, you know, they was again a black woman, a white man, grew up in it, you know, met in the village and shit. Moved to Japan in the '60s to get away from the racism and shit. They had children, but these children's mulatto, but they growing up in Japan. But these children is almost like 6 feet tall. So he taller than everybody there. They speak Japanese though, light-skinned black people. You know what I'm saying? But then because the parents don't have knowledge of self, you see what I'm saying? The parents was running away. And these are good people. They treated me great. You know what I'm saying? But there's something within them that needed to have the opposite in order to create something else. But when you create based on not knowing, you know, you end up with some Frankenstein shit. And that's, unfortunately, this colored society makes people of mixed parentage use words like mixed or interracial or mulatto or whatever, or light skin or whatever else to describe themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
All that shit doesn't even really mean anything. I mean, if you just do the research on the word black, I mean, if you call yourself black, you're calling yourself bleached. So I mean, I know a lot of people use black, but I mean, it's kind of good to really know the etymology on words, because if you just throw that word around loosely to someone who really knows what that means, they're going to look down on you.
Right, because then if you use the word, you're not under the spell of the word, because you know how the word is spelled. You know what it is. You're not caught up. So I don't talk to more. I'm talking to him more, and he say he call me blackers and shit. I'm not going like, yo, more. You know, you shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
I'm really not going to do that to nobody. If that's how you talk. That's how you talk. I know what that shit mean to me.
Right.
You know, and that's really all we can do, man. So thanks for that wisdom, my brother.
No problem. Have a good one.
Indeed, King. You too.
Thanks.
Peace on Super Heru Radio. Peace on Super Heru Radio. Anybody there?
Hello?
Peace. Peace on Super Heru Radio. Anybody there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hey.
What's going on, man?
I'm good, King.
Not much, man. I'm doing all right, man. Hey, man, your show dope, bro.
Thank you, my
brother.
brother.
I didn't think I was going, bro. I'm from Baton Rouge, man. I didn't think I was going to get in, man, because, hey, I've been listening to you for a while, bro. You put it in, bro, for real. You really holding it down, bro.
Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate it, King. I really do, man.
And I just want to go in, bro, about this black and Indian thing, man. Because in my family and lineage, we got a lot of Indian grandmothers and all this stuff going on right now. But I don't hear about Indian, fathers, things of that nature. Especially from huh?
I say, yeah, my brother.
Yeah, especially from being down here. I hear about the grandmothers. I don't hear about the Indian fathers or nothing like that. And as far as just to go in, as far as what can we do, as far as separating the slavery thing, as far as from the Indian thing, because it seems like we could, we come more from the so-called Indian than the slave people,
right.
And it's tripping because it's like slavery is damn near a myth, man. I'm like, I don't know no slaves in my family. All I know is the so-called Indian people that's running down through the heritage, through the old pictures and stuff. And they don't look straight-haired and white to me. They look black.
You see? Well, brother, you're absolutely right. My people is from Louisiana as well. And we got Washita. Well, at that whole area, one time they called it Washita proper. But they also, it was also called a lot of other things, you know. So many, you know, over the centuries, it's like the slavery thing is like this. It's like these people came over, right? Or we allowed these people over here. And once they got to a certain time, they chose to use a word amongst themselves on documents and papers to describe us. And they got enough of us to agree that that word represented us. And in that, we then had to accept the entire history of what came along with that. Original man and woman could never be a slave because we are genetically not Caucasian. Therefore, we are not Slovenian or Slovakian. The word slave comes from the word Slav, which is the Slovenian word for servant or serf. So the people that they call serfs, homesteaders, pioneers, frontiersmen, prospectors, Union soldiers, Confederate soldiers, all of those people, all of those terms mean slave. You understand? Like they all mean slave because all Caucasian people were under the slave or under the same boot. And that boot was the old man of Europe, and the old man of Europe was the mystic Turk, and the mystic Turk was the Moor. So everybody knows that. Washington Irving, Teddy Roosevelt, everyone knows this but us. We're the only ones that are still subscribing to the false history. So based on that, we have identified with a fictitious past. Therefore, the ancestors that we want are not coming to us collectively because we are all individually waking up to this. So the Native American part of your family and the Native American part of my family is the American part of my family, is the Moorish part of my family, is the original immortal aspect of us on this material plane. Yet, you and I have agreed that this is true. You see what I'm saying? Or the listeners, or all of us who are participating in this thing that we call the truth are agreeing that this is what it is. So if enough of us agree to this, you see what I'm saying? Then eventually our reality will override that fictitious reality because it no longer functions in our life. So if I don't identify with a slave, or I don't identify with a criminal, then I will not have the experiences that comes along with that identification. You see what I'm saying? That's why this Arizona immigration thing is really about nationality. It's really about nationality and status. And it is one of white America's last attempts to get us to show or prove what nationality we really are.
Trying to take a last stand,
Right, but because they are using the sons and daughters that we created from a Mexican as the starting point for this, these are Mexican people, the Mexican people that they're doing this to, they are still unified because when we left the culture, they walked into the ruins and kept it going. You see what I'm saying? So they spiritually have this ancestral shit behind them that is making this white man, run for the hills. So he got to make this stand, but in the meantime, he got to get somebody to claim their nationality. So in that, show and prove that today was Memorial Day, and every president ritually is supposed to go to Arlington Cemetery, right?
Right.
Obama didn't go to Arlington Cemetery. He went to the Lincoln Memorial, whatever the Lincoln thing was, because he got to stay in line with the fact that he's walking in the footsteps of Abraham Lincoln. You see what I'm saying? Who is a free Moor. You see what I'm saying? Who's a free Moor who studied under people like Pascal Beverly Randolph. So essentially the whole country coming back to us, but we're not going to be able to get it without declaring who or what we are, if not to anybody else but to ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
So yeah, man, so definitely support, man.
Man, I got one more question, man. What is the problem with the average person, like where I'm from down here, the average person, when you say more, they don't know what the hell that is. And I'm like, you done went to school, you so educated, you do this, you talk down on people, whatever, and you're not even subscribing or even did any knowledge as to who you really is. And it's like the people I'm surrounded around, man, it's like they tripping. It's like you can't even have a regular conversation with them or talk to them about anything else except bullshit. And I noticed how I just stopped really talking as I really, because I've been doing a little knowledge for a long time. I'm like 36, man. I've been going in like since I was about 20 years old, just trying to find out what the hell going on. I started off with the thing of just looking at the white Jesus at my Catholic grandmother's house when I was younger. And I was like, damn, and they just be bowing down to it and trying to just mix us all up. And I just couldn't take it. And I never could take it. And I felt like different, but I was like, it's got to be for a reason. As more and the years passed and I gained more knowledge, because they called me Abdul and all this crazy shit, man. And I'm a real nigga, man. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, brother.
Like, it's my own people, bro.
You know, the lunatics are running the asylum right now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, according to the United Nations, which again is a fictitious organization that rules fictitious nations, but they have put out that basically 85 to 95% of the world population is functionally, what is the word they use? It wasn't degenerate, but they basically summed it up by saying everybody's basically crazy. So in a world where everybody is insane, you know, based on all of the trauma and stuff they witness every day and stuff. So in a world where everybody is insane, if you're the sane one, what makes you sane is you knowing that you could be crazy. You understand what I'm saying?
Bro.
If you know around, say again?
For real.
Hello? Yeah, like if you're in a situation where you feel like, yo, if I stay here, I'm gonna just fucking go crazy on these people. That's how you know you're sane. You get what I'm saying? Is when you try to stay in them ciphers so much and get these people to understand you and get them to kind of come down or realize that they're on some bullshit. They're never, ever going to realize anything. They could be on fire and they could still not even understand that they're going to die in that, because the body is functioning but the mind is not. So essentially, this is what's happening. So in a world like that, you can't take it personal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You just got to do you. And don't get caught up in what trying to get people to see or get people to, you know, understand where you come from, all that. If they come to you on some shit, and you build with them or whatever. But I suggest to everybody, people I do readings for and everything else, look, don't try to convince nobody or nothing. Keep your opinions to yourself. You know what I mean? Go within, practice meditation, do whatever you got to do. Love them, but just know that, you know, learn the act of indifference. You know, learn how to love them to such a degree that you don't have to be around them or, you know what I mean? Because eventually, you know, the way things are going, people who are not really aware are going to be the first ones to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, man. I got a 7-year-old daughter, man. What can I do to keep her straight and keep her grounded while she's going through the public school system and the bullshit down here? Because I've been taking her to, like, the little museums where the mummies at and the Egyptian stuff. I just see her eyes light up like, damn, you know, and she just be like in a total new world. What can I do to always keep that connection between me and her so she can grow up as the original strong black woman that she is?
Want me to keep it real with you?
Yeah.
Want me to keep it real with you? You got to take her out of school. You got to do it. You got to take out of school and homeschool it. That's the only way you can be sure. Because if you put it in any other environment, any other situation, you're going to be deprogramming more than programming. You're going to be backtracking and telling her the truth about the lies she was told first.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
She asking major questions right now, man.
That's what I'm saying. So you got to keep it real with her, but you got to find a way to create that, like you said, that balance.
Mama ain't gonna let her.
So,
yeah. Man.
Obama.
Hey, bro.
The last thing he's thinking about is little black girls, and he got daughters.
Yeah, I know. I see it, bro. Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, King. Do your thing, bro.
You as well, King. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, peace.
Peace. You on Super Heavy Radio? Can you hear me? Anybody there? Anybody there? Try again.
Hello?
Peace, you on Super Heavy Radio?
Hello?
Peace.
Peace, King.
Peace, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man.
I just calling from Memphis, man.
All right. The Egyptian capital of the planet. What's up?
No doubt. And speaking a little bit on that, I was wondering, had you read Horace Butler's book, When Rocks Cry Out?
Yeah, it's a great book.
You like that?
Yeah.
So what you think about that?
Just in the fact that anytime you study anything dealing with like geology or like the study of time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell certain authors what school of thought they come from based on how they reference it, what references they use. That's how they talk to each other. That's how what they call the literary academia correlate their philosophies or speak to one another through text.
Okay.
So essentially, he's one of the better ones because what I liked is that there was still, I felt there was a certain degree of, he's trying to be spiritual in certain points,
Right, yeah.
Whereas a lot of other books are a lot more clinical, which is cool if you just get, if you just getting straight facts from shit, but I don't just read things just to get, a fact from it. Like I'm trying to, really learn some shit, so.
Right.
Case in point, when he talked about the how the rocks can sing to people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How the rocks carry a resonance, like that type of shit is dope because that correlates to what they was talking, what was going on in Kemet, and why the limestone was, and the properties of the limestone, and the difference between why that was used to build the, to help encase the pyramid as opposed to the basalt,
Yeah.
And why basalt was used for statues and shit like that. The white Western philosophers called this art geomancy. But, they always got a fucking name for some bullshit.
Yeah. So what do you think about him saying that the original, or the Kemet they were referring to in the Bible or Egypt was actually in South America? It was actually Peru.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Heru, the whole Moorish thing. That's correlated to the Moorish Quran where it talked about, or even in the Song of the Marines where they said from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
Tripoli, right, yeah.
That's the whole.
That's what they mean.
How we box shit. That's what they call the Oriental, or the Orient.
Yeah.
Even the white folk use the word Orient. Orient means to alter one's consciousness to the truth, whereas Oriental is an Asian person. But Orientalism is the study of Moorish history. See what I'm saying?
They get offended when you call them Oriental.
Well, yeah,
Notice that?
A Chinese person or Oriental or Celestial. They used to call them Celestials too, or Mongoloid. Yeah, if you call a Asian person like that, that's negative.
They're like, that's a fool. Don't.
Yeah, because that's a eugenics term, though.
Oh, yeah. That's okay.
Because they know eugenics term, and it's a term that they use for the ones that's under their jurisdiction. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
The false jurisdiction under the false orient of history.
Yeah.
So they don't like that term applied to them.
Yeah.
They rather say Asian because that's closer to Asiatic.
Yeah, true indeed. You said it. They love it. They prefer that.
We don't even know what that shit is.
True indeed.
But yeah, man, thanks for calling.
No doubt, brother. Peace to you and your fam, man. Be easy.
You as well. Peace. Yeah, thanks everybody for calling in. It's definitely been an ill night. We really went in on a lot of different things, you know. Again, thanks for tuning in to our show. Myself, I see the Duke of Tears with my brother Saad Ali, as well as the Queen, you know, as well as all y'all, which is the Super Heru family. Definitely tune in on Friday, same time, Super Heru Radio 3.0, and we work together to try to get some of this thing straight. We got thanks again for all the donations and all the people that supported, you know, all the people that I haven't gotten back to yet. I'm definitely at you soon. It's just been real crazy. As well as all the support in terms of the donations and everything. We really appreciate it. It helps us get that much closer to get these projects on the go so we could really move this thing to where it needs to go so we all could get there, you know. But, again, you know, it's been really dope on this journey with everybody. Try to take one more before we close out. Peace. Peace. You on Super Heru Radio? We got 2 minutes. Peace, anybody?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I got a question, another question. What is it with ivory chopsticks? Like, if somebody goes to a Chinese restaurant and they give them ivory chopsticks.
Got basically oil in it, so, you know, petroleum-based thing is not good. So definitely try to get some organic type thing, you know, something more natural. Bleach your lips out, it's not really good.
Somebody was telling me that the mud, all right.
All right, my brother. Yeah, so, again, this is Super Heru Radio. Just wanted to say peace to everybody again, and definitely stay tuned. We definitely got a lot of good things coming for you, as well as we're going to start the online classes, inshallah, in June if we get enough participants. So definitely holler at me. Email houseofl@hotmail.com if you're interested, and we'll send you a flyer, and we get this thing going. This is the continuation of the first class series we did called Dark Plasma Synthesis. This one is entitled Dark Aether Telemetry. So it should be very interesting. You know, anybody wants to participate, definitely holler at me through House of L or Heru. And with that, peace to all the human fans on planet Earth. Thank you for tuning in with us, and thank you for being here. Peace.
Here.